Hello, and welcome to another edition of Your Bridge to Addiction Resources, a program that is sponsored by the Council on Chemical Abuse and the People Chronicles. My name is Yvonne Stroman, and I will be your host for this afternoon. The People Chronicles and the Council on Chemical Abuse wishes to bring to you updated and innovative information about alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs in our community, how a person can access that information, and more importantly, how we help individuals maintain their level of sobriety. So with me this afternoon, we're going to talk about recovery housing, what that means, how an individual can gain access to recovery housing, case management, and who better to do that than a good friend of mine. I'm going to ask if she would introduce herself and where she's from, and we're going to have a conversation.
Hi, I'm Jami Geist. I'm the housing director at the YMCA.
And Jami, you are not new to the YMCA because you've been there for such a long period of time. How long have you been with the YMCA?
In March, it'll be 17 years.
17 years.
Yes.
So I have no doubt that in those 17 years, you have seen hundreds of individuals come in, receive services, go back out to their designated communities, become productive citizens. So I kind of just want to have for people who might be interested in how this all operates, kind of talk us through an individual that might need that extra support. And perhaps where they're living, their home may not be stable enough for them, and so then they may come to seek recovery services elsewhere, such as the YMCA, right?
Yes.
And so how can someone gain access to the Y? Is there an application process? And if so, is there a period of time that they have to stay sober before coming to the Y? What might be that process?
The first step to getting into our programs is the application. And that goes for all of our programs. We have one application, so you only have to come in, ask for the housing application, and then fill that out, turn it in. That goes to one of our case managers or our intake coordinator. They review it, figure out according to the person's needs and their situation, and where we have openings, what would be the best program for them to be in, and then we schedule an interview. Okay. So we set up the interview and we meet with somebody and talk to them about the information on their application and what they're looking for and what their goals are, and basically determine from that interview if they're a good candidate and if they want to come into the program.
Okay, so and you said if they want to come into the program, so I'm going to suspect that there might be a handful of people that will make application, but maybe not necessarily the Y is their first choice. They'd rather go home. Am I to take from that there might be folks that are mandated to be at the YMCA?
There are. I like to talk to people about letting them know that they still have options.
Okay.
Sometimes their options aren't the best options. Sometimes it's okay, either the YMCA or jail.
Okay.
That's still a choice that they're making, and we want them to make the best of that option. So okay, there are some people who, because they're on probation or just because of their situation, the Y really is the only thing that they can, their only best option. They could choose to stay homeless, they could choose to go to jail, they could choose those things. And so sometimes people do come to us that don't necessarily want to be there, but I talk to them about, okay, now you're here, so what are we going to do about it?
Right.
You know,
right.
What can you get from this? What can you do to make this a beneficial experience for you? And if you don't want to be here, what needs to happen for you to move out in a successful way?
Great, yeah, and so I think it's important, and you mentioned how can they get the best experience out of being at the YMCA. And so there's a length of time in which they're asked to be there, as well as case management. And so can you talk to us about the time length that a person may be asked to kind of give, because it's an investment. It's an investment of the individual's livelihood, but it's also an investment on the part of the YMCA staff to helping an individual kind of work side by side with them to help them kind of make some goals, and oh, by the way, let's achieve them as well.
We want people to make a commitment to themselves to achieve the goals that they need to achieve. It's hard to set a number on that because the reality is the longer that people stay in a safe, supportive environment, the longer people stay sober, the better their chances are of continuing to stay sober. And so we want them to take that time for themselves. It's hard to say what that is. Some people need 6 months, some people need a year, some people need 2 years. It kind of depends on what their situation is when they come in, what goals they have, and how long it takes for them to achieve it. And so what we talk to people about when they come in is, all right, our goals for them is to get actively involved in recovery and work hard on what they need to do to stay clean and sober. And then we want them, of course, to be able to support themselves financially, so whatever that looks like. And then we want them to have stable housing when they leave. So those are the main 3 goals that we look at. For some people, it doesn't take them a lot of time to achieve those goals. For some people, it takes them, a really long time to achieve those goals. Some people get to the end of the 2 years and they need ongoing support. And so we look at, okay, what can we do to help this person continue? And as long as they're making progress and they're working on it, we're willing to work with them.
So it sounds like the first element is kind of stabilizing them in terms of their living situation. And then along with that stabilization comes education, awareness, and doing some things about staying healthy, and as we call it, staying, long-term recovery. And so that is all part of case management?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
And what is case management?
Case management is a lot of things.
Okay.
Basically, what happens when somebody comes into our program is they sit down with their case manager and they assess, all right, where am I? And where do I want to go? And then what do I need to do to get there? And the case manager's job is a lot to figure out what do I need to do to get there. And so they link them with resources in the community. They advocate for them to get their needs met. They help them identify what those needs are, what the priorities are, where do I start, where can I go to get counseling, where do I go to get help with transportation, how do I get a job, all of those kind of things. The case managers do all of that. And then they serve as people who kind of keep track of, okay, how are you doing with achieving this goal? Well, where are the obstacles? Okay, how do we get around that obstacle or get over it or get through it? And so to keep them on track and work on if something's getting in the way, how do we figure that out? How do we solve that problem so that they can achieve that goal?
Right. And one of the things, if you wouldn't mind just kind of touching on a little bit, is the importance of building relationships. And I, think that in terms of building those relationships, an individual coming to the Y, and as you mentioned, sometimes they come willingly, and sometimes they come as a result of a referral from the justice system. What is the building of relationships and the importance of that? How do the case managers work with individuals in that realm?
That's a huge part of what they do, and it is really why they're there, because they want to help people and they work with people to become successful. And that is, people are not going to necessarily listen to us telling them what to do, because sometimes we are telling them what to do when they don't want to do those things, unless they know that we care about them. And so that is the very beginning of somebody coming in the program, is letting them know that we're there for them. We want them to be successful, and a lot of listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been doing this, as you had mentioned, for a number of years, and just kudos to you for your commitment and your passion to want to help individuals. Let me just ask you this: what drives you? What drives Jami each day to say this work is worth doing?
It's interesting that you asked that, because on my way walking here from the Y, I ran into 2 people that had lived in our building. And seeing people and seeing them do well is so exciting, you know, to me, is just seeing those successes, and like the fact that I got to be a small part of that, even if I didn't even have, even if they just lived in the building and I maybe had a little bit of interaction with them, I knew that they were there, that we played a part in them being successful is that's the coolest thing.
That's great.
And I get to be part of that.
Yeah.
You know, I look at it, the work that we do, as an investment in people's futures, you know, and to me, just like with children, you know, we all pay into the school system.
Absolutely.
Because we as a society make an investment into our kids because we want them to be educated. And that's how I see it for our people, is that we're making an investment in our people so that in their futures, and so they can be successful and have great lives.
That's great. So you had mentioned if an individual's interested in residing at the YMCA, they can come and pick up an application. Is there an application available on your website, or
Yes.
Okay, there is?
Yeah, the application is on our website. People can go there and access it and print it out, but you can't fill it out online.
Okay.
It is on the YMCA website. If you Google YMCA of Reading, you'll be able to come up. I don't know the exact www website.
Okay, fair enough.
It's on there. And then go to the housing page. On the housing page of our website, the application link is up on the right-hand side.
Okay, great. And what type of turnaround can an individual expect, or does it depend upon the program that they're interested in?
It does depend on if there's openings, but it also depends on when they turn it in. So if they, turn it in on a Friday, staff may not get it till Monday.
Okay.
But we do try to contact people within 48 hours just to say, okay, we got your application, and set up an interview. That can be difficult, and it varies depending on the housing situation. If somebody's incarcerated, it may take a little bit longer for us to get up to interview them.
But you do go. You can go
Yes,
even to
we will
the
go up
Berks
and meet
County
with
Prison.
people. We get people contact us while they're in inpatient treatment, and we'll interview them over the phone. So however we can reach people, that's how we do
Breaking
it.
down barriers to help people, I think, is what I'm hearing you say, and however you can help. It's just a needed service. It's very much a needed service, and so we really thank you. Is there anything else that perhaps you and I didn't get a chance to touch upon that you would like to kind of make sure folks know about before we say goodbye?
That's it. Just that we do have a lot of different programs. We have primarily transitional housing for people in recovery. We also have transitional housing for women with children. It's a whole lot of different kinds of housing that we provide.
So individuals are welcome to Google the YMCA
Yes.
of Residing in Berks County and find out
It's
more
all on
information.
there,
Okay,
yes.
all right. And for those of you that would like more information about the services at the Council on Chemical Abuse, I invite you to visit our website at www.cocaberks.org. That's COCABERKS.org. In the meantime, I want to thank you for tuning in. This is Your Bridge to Addiction Resources. I'm Yvonne Stroman. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Check back every week for a new story with Your Bridge to Addiction Resources. You can call 610-376-8669 or visit online at cocaberks.org. COCABERKS.org. Be sure to like and follow the Council on Chemical Abuse on Facebook and Twitter.